Hello everyone. My editing software is still out of commission mostly. Until then, I've been trying to think of some content that I could record very quickly, or relatively quickly, as in faster than an hour of content, so that I don't have to edit it and you guys can still get Minecraft content. Or any content really, but as you can see I've been doing a lot of Minecraft content lately, so anyway. So I thought I would start a sort of mini-series of micro games. These are games based off of classic arcade games in the real world that I've decided to reproduce in Minecraft using redstone. Most of these hopefully won't need command blocks, except potentially for win conditions, just because I don't know what kind of prizes you would want. You could use whatever prizes you think are best. But yeah, so to get started, this micro game is a game that I've seen in many arcades. So basically, when you start the game, usually by inserting a token, in this case it's by flipping some switches, the lights will go around in a circle pretty quickly, and the idea is you have to jump right as the light hits the bottom to win. Now, in the actual arcade game, if you miss, you lose, and the game ends. In this game, you can keep trying until you make it. So yeah, you can always add on to this if you wanted to the design so that it actually does end the game when you lose or whatever. But for now, you know, it's fine the way it is. So, right, so the idea here is I'm going to turn this on, and that enables it. This is the off switch mostly. So when I press this button, it will start the game. The lights will spin around. I have to jump. And if you notice, there's a tripwire above me, which is why I have to stand on this gray line. So I have to jump right when the light hits about here. And actually, because it takes a little bit of time for you to reach that tripwire in your jump, you have to jump about a split second earlier. So yeah, it's all about timing this game. So if I do this, nothing, I lose. I have to do it right when it gets to the bottom or a split second before, so there you go. And I got a message that says you win. And I can turn it off. Now, obviously, it's not very exciting when your only prize is a message, but the output, which is right here, can be shuttled into anything. Right now, I just have it into this one command block that says I win. You can send it into maybe a piston door that opens up a passage to a chest full of diamonds, or you can have a dispenser that spits out diamonds or something. Whatever you want. This is the win condition output. When this torch turns on, which it will only do for I think about 1 tick, maybe 2, that means you've won and you can do whatever you want with that output. So here is how it works. I'm just going to do a quick overview because remember, I cannot edit. But here's how it works. So in the back here, the main thing is these repeaters. It's a repeater clock. So it gets a pulse from that button, and in particular, it actually gets a 1-tick pulse, which, let me find that. Right here is a repeater. Underneath here, which let me show you, is a sticky piston, and that redstone there gets a signal from that button on this wall. So you press the button, it turns the redstone on. This repeater picks up that signal and sends it out here. But that redstone also turns on that piston, which pushes the block up, and at that point this repeater no longer has a signal. So you get exactly a 1-tick pulse. So that's how you do 1-tick pulses. Just a piston, a block, and then a repeater on the other side. So this 1-tick pulse leads into this repeater clock. Now a repeater clock is just a circle of repeaters, basically. And so what happens is the 1-tick pulse comes in here, and then this repeater picks it up and sends it over here after a delay. Now these are all set to 2 ticks. I tried 1 tick and that was too fast and actually messed up the circuit. Basically it went 1 cycle and then just stopped. So I went to 2 ticks and it seems pretty good. Originally I had it at 4 ticks and that was really slow and way too easy. So yeah, so these are all set to 2 ticks. So the button sends the 1 tick pulse here. 2 ticks later, it ends up here, which goes to these repeaters. It actually goes through a comparator into this repeater, which 2 ticks later sends it here. And so every 2 ticks, it goes into another line of redstone. And it circles around and just keeps going. Now the reason I have this comparator here is this is how I turn off the system. So this comparator is set to subtract mode, and it's got this redstone line, which is to that lever. So I turn the lever on, and it basically shuts off this comparator because it's got a repeater there. So it's got a full 15 strength signal coming in, which is subtracting from anything. So we'll always reduce it down to 0 and stop the clock. So yeah, that's all. And then the rest is just very messy wiring. I mean, that's the main bulk of it, is this little circular circuit. Circular circuit? Yeah. This circuit clock. The rest of it is just wiring that leads each redstone piece of this clock out into one lamp here. There's a lot of blocks that I'm using just to separate redstone signals like this, so that they don't bleed into each other. There's a redstone signal under this, a redstone line. If we remove it, we will see that. And then this is just to stop it from bleeding into this line. But basically that's all it is. Each redstone output part of this circuit clock gets shuttled into one of the lamps in order to make it spin. And then right here we have the win condition checking. So wow, there's lag. So here is both our input button and also our first lamp. So they both, when you first press the button, the first lamp turns on, and then after the circuit goes around and gets back to here, it turns the lamp on again. But in addition to that, it also comes down here and goes into this AND gate. So what we are trying to check is if the bottom lamp is on, which is when that circuit gets to that point, and also when you've jumped, which is from this, the output from this hook, this tripwire hook. So we have the output from the tripwire hook over here, leading into this part of the AND gate, and the output from the circuit telling us that the bottom light is on, leading into this part of the AND gate, and then the output from this AND gate is your win checking, is your win condition. So yeah, there's a little bit over here that I had to do because tripwire hooks, their signal actually lasts after you're no longer triggering them. They last quite a bit, and it sort of messes up the checking, because if you were to jump really early, that signal would last long enough to keep this AND gate thinking that you're still touching the tripwire hook, and so it made it a lot easier to cheat the system. So in order to make sure it only occurred when you were specifically when the light was on the bottom, I ran this tripwire hook into a 1-tick pulse limiter, the same as before, a sticky piston with a block above it. The redstone is actually under, it is behind this block. If we look there, you can see the redstone is there. And then a repeater. So 1-tick pulse here. So the last thing is this piece. So 1-tick pulse, or a 1-tick pulse, actually will not turn off a torch. Unfortunately, they don't respond to 1-tick pulses. You need a slightly longer pulse. So after being shortened down to 1 tick, I then use this as a pulse lengthener to increase it up to 2 ticks. which is long enough. It needs 1.5 ticks in order to turn off a redstone torch. So this extends it out to 2 ticks. And the way this works, in case it's not obvious, is the redstone signal goes through 2 paths. This one, which is delayed by 1 tick, and this one is delayed by 2 ticks. So when the initial pulse comes through here, we get 1 tick here, and then by the time the initial pulse stops, 1 tick later, this repeater will repeat that signal. So the output ends up being on for 2 ticks. So yeah, that's how it works. So win condition, jump detection, circuit clock using repeaters that leads into all this messy wiring leading into these lights, and a lever that just leads into a subtractive comparator to turn off the clock, and the button leading into a 1 tick pulse to start it again. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. So there you go, the first micro game in this series, which is only around because I can't edit anything, so hopefully this won't have been too long a recording, and hopefully it actually just explains stuff enough for you guys to make it in your own worlds. I may start offering world downloads, but that requires uploading the worlds, so you guys are going to have to let me know in the comments below if you want me to start doing world downloads. Until then, hopefully these explanations will be enough for you to rebuild them yourself. Until next time, keep redstoning, keep spinning, keep doing stuff. Yeah, see, this is why I need editing.